Patrick Beverley to the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah.
Starting to show off talking about Patrick Beverley.
Well, no. It's going to lead into something.
Let's get it.
It's going to lead into something else too. But in order for me to get there, I had to mention the trade, of course. So Patrick Beverley to the Memphis Grizzlies, as well as Rondo. So tell me how you feel about that trade, that swap.
I don't feel anything, to be honest. I don't. Eric Bledsoe going back to the Clippers. Hope he, maybe he can revitalize his career with the Clippers. He was a monster. Kind of started his career with the Clippers and became that, go-to starting point guard for Phoenix Suns, and then he got traded to Milwaukee Bucks. That didn't really work out. Then he went down to New Orleans. That was an awkward fit with him and Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson and Steven Adams, just clogging up everything. So it's kind of weird. But like I said, I think I really don't know. I don't know what Memphis is doing. And I don't know what the Clippers are really doing. So I really don't feel any type of way about it. What about you?
Well, let's jump right to it. There's only one reason why I mentioned that trade is because, the talks are already happening for potential John Wall to the Clippers.
Well, that's okay. Now it makes sense now.
That was why I had to, I couldn't just randomly hop in the show and just, John Wall. No, there's a reason behind.
That makes sense.
Don't worry. It wasn't going to be an hour segment of, that trade. Trust me. Okay. But yeah, John Wall to the Clippers. That'd be crazy.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't know what the trade package would be. I think John's contract is wild. It'd be interesting to see how they kind of pull that off. But yeah, put John in a win now situation. I definitely think Houston, has future aspirations, of course, in terms of winning a title. But I think, we could all probably agree he would have a little bit more of an opportunity to win a championship playing with the Clippers. Again, less pressure for him. I think it would be dope, though. It'd be one hell of a fit. I'll tell you that much. What you think about it?
No, I now it makes more sense.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
Get Eric Bledsoe, then you're trying to maybe package a deal to get that contract to come back with John Wall. But I like that. I like that because I think John Wall is still a very, very good basketball player. I think people got to understand that sometimes when you're coming off an injury, you're normally not yourself until your second year. And I say that all the time. That's why I'm telling Golden State Warriors fans, pump the brakes. Klay Thompson, back-to-back injuries. He's not going to be the Klay Thompson that everybody expects him to be. At least, he may never be that Klay Thompson, but at least to me, it's probably not going to happen this first year. So, but with John Wall going to the Clippers, potentially going to the Clippers, I like the fit. I like comparing next to Paul George. He's a true point guard, can set up others, also can score when needed. And like I said, I think he's still a very, very good basketball player. So it would be interesting.
Yeah, facts. I agree. One thing I would say though too with the whole injury thing, I would mention Kevin Durant. Obviously, we saw what he did when he came back. A lot of people were saying
he played. Kevin Durant didn't play more than 50 games this year either.
Right. Very true.
That's what I'm saying.
Very true. Yeah.
He didn't play a lot of games this year. Kevin Durant was out a lot of the season. So
yeah,
there you go.
Very, very true. So in terms of John Wall, because like to roll the dice, talk. Do you think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Man,
yeah.
He was on.
We might as well not even waste time. Let's just chop it up right now. Is John Wall a first ballot Hall of Famer? Damn, I should have saved that for the cap or no cap. My fault. Actually, yeah. I'm not going to apologize for it because that's one hell of a question. But I'll answer it for you. Why you think? I think. Damn, is John Wall first?
Yeah. You thought it was going to be like a simple answer. It's like
because what I said. I would say George. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, because it's the basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. So it's a whole bunch of guys that got into the basketball Hall of Fame that I can, to be honest, if we just strictly on what they did in their NBA careers, I'm looking like, look, come on now. So it's just, I think Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer. So
that's not the same thing at all. That's not the same thing.
Why is it not the same thing?
It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. Because when Derrick Rose's Rose's prime was absolutely
he didn't have a
scary.
Peak. Okay, have a prime.
Okay, fine. All right, if you want to do that, all right, fine. Okay, my bad.
First
of all, you know what I meant though. Okay, the fact that he's had MVP and all that, obviously, the the whole not having a championship and stuff, but still, that's not the same thing.
John Wall.
All right, so I guess now with that debate is longevity versus prime, right? So John Wall had a longer time of being successful, but Derrick Rose's peak was better. So damn, is that really a
better moments? Yeah, that's
a good one. Who's more likely to enter the Hall, D Rose or John? I think it's still D Rose. I even asked that. It's still Derrick Rose.
I don't think Derrick Rose is going to be the only MVP in the history of the NBA to not reach the Hall of Fame. And I think what Derrick Rose has done, kind of revitalizing his brand and kind of like showing people, me and you knew that he wasn't finished and he wasn't done. But you know how narratives happen, politics, all these things that happens in the NBA. They did the same thing to Carmelo Anthony, said he was washed and all this stuff. Did the same thing to Derrick Rose. But it's just like we know about situations. We know about all that great stuff that happens. And what he did with Minnesota when he went for that 50-point. Derrick Rose got moments after his injury now. You know what I'm saying? Before it was just kind of like he had the playoff moments, he had the injuries, and he had the MVP. He has moments after, since he kind of like showed people like, yo, I'm still Derrick Rose. I'm still really damn good basketball player. The 50-point performance with the Minnesota Timberwolves where he was crying afterwards, that was phenomenal. Then he went to Detroit for a brief second, but getting traded to the New York Knicks and being their best playoff performer this past season, that is a moment. So I think he's going to have more moments as well. So I definitely say Derrick Rose is more likely to go to the Hall of Fame than John Wall. But I also believe that John Wall is probably going to the Hall of Fame as well and deserves to go into the Hall of Fame. Because like I said, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not just the NBA Hall of Fame.
Right. And I definitely hear you on that. I think if Derrick Rose's career ended right now, he would definitely be for sure first ballot Hall of Famer. I think John might need to do a little bit more in terms of like if he gets a championship, if he does go to the Clippers and gets that championship.
I don't know about Derrick Rose being a first ballot. I don't know about it's people.
I don't know, man.
First ballot.
He should. When you bring up Memphis, and then you mentioned it too, the whole because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not just the NBA Hall of Fame. When you mention, what he was doing in high school, what he did in college, it's like, darn.
That's true. That's true.
First ballot here, #1 overall pick, the All-Star, like first ballot. I know
homegrown player too.
Yeah,
Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be a question. But John, I mean, even I still think he'll be in the Hall of Fame. It's all about eventually. But you know what? Something that was brought to my attention over this past weekend, shout out to the Slam Summer Classic, we had a couple of debates. Who's more likely to enter the Hall of Fame, Draymond Green or Kyle Lowry? If right, see, I knew you were gonna say both. If one of them, if it was a one gotta go kind of thing, if only one of them could enter the Hall of Fame, who would you say is the one that's like, all right, I'm gonna give him the upper hand on this?
Basketball wise.
As opposed to?
No,
and I wasn't being sarcastic. I just want to hear your perspective.
Because, Draymond Green, we factor in those championships. So it's kind of like you got to look at, like, Draymond Green had a 30-point game 7 against LeBron James. Probably Draymond Green. It's crazy to think about it. I was going to kind of lead toward Kyle Lowry, but it's probably Draymond Green because we know Draymond Green being a defensive anchor, being, able to play the center position with the Golden State Warriors on those championship caliber teams and championship teams that they had. And even this year, like this past year, he showed that he's still one of the best defensive players in the game. Now, regardless of like what you prefer defensively, like me, I prefer guys that actually guard, not taking anything away for Draymond, but his best attribute is being an anchor on defense. And Draymond can still go out and guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5 at times. So that's not really saying that, I prefer guard, and Draymond can guard at times as well. But at the same time, it's just kind of like what he did defensively. If you take Draymond Green off those Golden State Warriors teams, do they win any of those championships? Probably not. So he was a vital factor. So probably Draymond Green.
Okay, I got another one for you because I could just do this all day.
No, you doing this? You do this all day.
All right, one more. Is Blake Griffin a first ballot Hall of Famer?
See.
What? All I'm doing is answering the question. I didn't say hell yeah. I didn't say hell no. I didn't say
once he gets a ring, he definitely gonna be a Hall of Famer.
That wasn't the question.
Yeah, I'm
is
just
Blake
saying.
Griffin a first ballot?
Probably not first ballot. No, a lot of these guys not first ballot. And we talking about it's probably not first ballot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. First ballot is iconic. Like guys that are MVPs and like championships and like
Yeah.
signature moments. And it's just like, and out of the people, Blake Griffin, Kyle Lowry, Draymond Green, Derrick Rose, out of those four, I would lead to Derrick Rose being the only one that probably should be, if anybody had to get a first ballot Hall of, should be Derrick Rose out of all those guys. So that's kind of how I'll lead to it.
Derrick Rose is gonna be a first ballot, bro.
You think so? I hope they don't do it.
He better be a first ballot Hall of Fame, bro. There's gonna be a lot of upset individuals, myself being one of them, if he's not a first ballot. Now, to me, I think it's a guarantee that he is a Hall of Famer. Now, the biggest question is, I guess, is if he's going to make it on that first run. But to me, dog, it's like, yo, it's like as you get older, I think people unfortunately tend to forget like what they were doing, during, I'm going to avoid the word using prime, but, what he was doing with the Chicago Bulls and stuff. It's like, yo, that dude was special, and he still is.
It was special, yeah.
But,
it was special.
like, come on. We're not about to see – Derrick Rose don't come around every day.
That's true. And, it's crazy. I was arguing with one of my good friends, and she was telling me about how she would prefer Russell Westbrook. No, she would prefer Derrick Rose over Russell Westbrook, and if Derrick Rose never got hurt, that Derrick Rose would be better than Russell Westbrook. And I said that game-wise, everybody talks about them being the two most athletic point guards in history in the NBA, which is true. But I was like, game-wise, I was just like, I don't even really like that comparison, because if you look at their play style, they play very, very different. And people kind of underestimate Derrick Rose and his skill and his ability. And Derrick Rose is extremely skilled and has always been extremely skilled. And I said a better example was if Derrick Rose stayed healthy, do you think he would be a better player than Kyrie Irving? I think that's a better question, because I feel like their play styles are a little bit more similar. Even though Kyrie is probably more skilled than Derrick Rose, he is more skilled than Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose, skill-wise, he's up there. And people don't really talk about his skill because they were just so talking about him dunking and slashing to the rim and stuff like that. Derrick Rose is extremely skilled.
Yes, I do. I mean, the D Rose and Westbrook comparisons are going to go on like forever, just because of just obviously their athleticism, as well as they both have that one MVP season. I don't think there's a wrong answer here, but I think there's certain tiers, at least when guys are at their peak in their prime. But yeah, D Rose and Russell Westbrook, I think, can go kind of.
Well, Kyrie, throw Kyrie in there.
I don't know about that one. Love Kyrie, but I just, because those two other guys, man, like, were doing things that were just like absolutely like scary. And not to say that Kyrie isn't like that, you feel me? We all know, feel me, Kyrie's tough. But like Derrick was like that big three in Miami versus Derrick. Like when you look at and that Chicago Bulls team, it wasn't bad, but it's roster wise. Yeah, I say I'm not saying they were terrible, but in terms of him being the first scoring option, and then after that, it's like, yo, come on now. And then Russ to pull off a trip dub in like three seasons, obviously, when he did his MVP season. And again, not saying that Kyrie isn't like that, but just those two things are like, yo, that's very, very different. That is very, very special. But again, I just think there's tiers. Go ahead.
You think it's tiers? I mean, I think Kyrie Irving is in that tier. Kyrie Irving outperformed a 2-time MVP, 3-time NBA champion in the finals.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kyrie has had like moments. Don't get me wrong. He's had times like, yo,
I guess you're talking about
he's going crazy.
I guess you're going back to the leading a team.
Yeah, but leading a team, and I mean, obviously what Kyrie did with LeBron, in that finals was crazy. But there's gonna be people who have the whole, what did Kyrie do when he was by himself, right? Whether it be with Boston or Cleveland, or at least not by himself, but as the leader of the team, right? The clear, obvious best player on that team. We saw what Russ did. We saw what Derrick did. But then, unfortunately, when you bring in that conversation of when Kyrie was a leader versus what those other two guys were doing when they were leader, it's a little shaky.
Healthy, Theus, healthy in their prime. Even though I don't think Derrick Rose never had a prime, but just say healthy and at their peak. Rank them. This is no pump fakes.
We're doing that. All right, that's not.
It's no pump. It's no.
That's not hard. Well, I got Kyrie at 3. 1 and 2. I'm gonna go Russ just because that's my guy. Russ at 1. Derrick at 2, Kyrie at 3. I won't say it was easy, but that was.
You think so?
Like I said, I mean, 1 and 2, like I said, it's a toss up, but I don't think Kyrie should be above either one of them in terms of that ranking. No, just both of their MVP seasons were just like, yo, what is going on? Like it was just that's all it really was to me. It's just they both have MVPs, and I'm not saying that awards that just because they have those awards means that all right, it's definitely them. But what they were doing during those seasons, like, yo, you got it.
I think it's that's why I asked you that question, because I was telling my friend, I was just like, I think a better comparison would be more so like the Derrick Rose and Kyrie Irving, more so to like Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook, because you look at Russell Westbrook's career, it's insane. It really is insane, and he's been to an NBA Finals. But then you look at Derrick Rose and Kyrie's career, and it's just kind of like Derrick Rose MVP, he was leader on the Chicago Bulls team, and then Kyrie Irving, we know what he's about, the most skilled point guard in the history of the NBA, as far as I'm concerned. And then you just break things down, it's just kind of like, I can't legitimately say that, like, Derrick Rose is over Kyrie Irving when we talk about career, when we talk about, like, peak, who would I rather take? Even though Derrick Rose has an MVP, Kyrie is different. And I saw Kyrie do something that Derrick Rose and even Russell had a 44-point finals performance. But I saw Kyrie, where the stakes at the highest, do what he did in a Game 7 against the top 3 point guard in the history of the game. I can't ignore that. And it wasn't like, people don't understand. It was just like, it was mano y mano. It wasn't on some like it was just LeBron James. Of course, LeBron was LeBron, but it was just like Kyrie. They said, Kyrie, take us home. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I can't really say that. So if I had to rank them, to me, it's Russ, and then it's a toss up between Kyrie Irving and Derrick Rose, and that's just kind of how I'm looking at it.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Kyrie. That's why I was saying, like, it's more of a, I think those other 2 guys were just out there going crazy, as opposed to, me disrespecting Kyrie. But again, going back to what I said before, I think it's more of Kyrie has the moments, right? Mm-hmm. He has the plays. So what
is more valuable? What are key moments in the biggest situations, or are we talking about like over the course of a regular season and get into the playoffs? What is more valuable? That's the question that we are having right now.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, but the thing is, Russ and Derrick had both, or were
Russ
dominant in both.
Russ,
you want to say Derrick? That's a little tough. That's a little tough.
Derrick's never played in the NBA Finals, bro.
I mean,
that's just a fact. Like, I've seen Kyrie at the highest level. And not saying that Derrick Rose wouldn't excel, especially at his peak, or saying he wouldn't go crazy. But I also seen LeBron James, shut down Derrick Rose in pivotal games in the playoffs as well.
All right, first of all, let's think about who you just said, though.
That's true. They're one of the greatest defenders of all time.
Yeah, but I say, and then Kyrie, you talking about Kyrie cooked one of the best point guards in league history. Now we're comparing Steph as a defender versus LeBron as a defender.
That's true.
That's
No, I'm just saying. I look at that. It's just kind of like, I've seen it with my eyes. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that. It's just sometimes some things like you could play the what if game. That's what I was kind of telling my friend. You could play the what if. Like if Derrick Rose was in his peak, he would be better. But it's just like I've seen it with my eyes with Russ for years. I've seen it with my eyes with Kyrie Irving at the one of the greatest top 2 NBA Finals in the history of the game, as far as I'm concerned. It's just kind of like I've seen it. So it's just that we have to factor it in. We can play the what-if games, like you said last week. What if Allen Iverson was 6'6"? He'd be the greatest point player in the world. What if Kyrie Irving was 6'6"? He'd probably be the greatest player in the world. Yeah. It's just kind of like, what if Kevin Durant wasn't 6'10" and he was 6'5"? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, You could do the what-if game all day long. What if Giannis Antetokounmpo had a jump shot? He rivaling Michael Jordan. So it's just like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, based on what I've watched, it's kind of like, I think it's Russ, and then I think it's a toss-up between Kyrie Irving and Derrick Rose.
I'm going to say this, though. All 3 of them have never ran from the moment, if you will.
Okay.
Right. I think all of the 3 of them are very clutch in their own right. But I mean, Whenever I think of Kyrie, I know everyone likes to think of that shot he had, obviously, in the finals. That's the number one moment everyone thinks to. But you know what mine is when I hear Kyrie, bro? I think of that game against San Antonio
Yeah, talk about it.
when he was on Cleveland.
It was crazy.
That brother was wildin'. And I don't remember the exact date, but feel me, y'all should know what game I'm talking about. That night in San Antonio was one of the craziest performances I've ever seen, bro. I'm watching the game like, yo, like he's really like doing like this shit on live national television on the road in San Antonio, a tough environment to win. I'm like, no, bro. No, bro. And he's hitting tough buckets. I always say, bro, if there was one player in the league that like I could like play like in terms of like overall playing styles, it'd probably be Kyrie. Not saying that he's the best player in the world or anything like that, but when you talking about like just pull it up to like a random court or a park and just dance and just like, yo, give me the ball, get the hell out the way. Yo, give me the ball. I don't really need a screen right now. Yo, give me the ball. It's the fourth quarter. All right, we down by 2. All right, slide. Everybody else just
people don't understand people don't understand how crazy Kyrie is. Kyrie Irving can wake up every morning and feel like he the best point guard in the NBA.
Yeah,
that's just the truth.
Yeah,
and you can ask people like myself that would say probably yeah. And it's just like it's crazy, and it made think about like you talk about Stephen Curry and stuff like that. It's just like Kyrie Irving is that dude too as well. And it's not as like, you know, I think Steph Curry is a top 3, top 5 player in the game, but it's just like Kyrie Irving, any game could be a top 3 to top 5 player in the game. So it's just like it's really crazy. It's serious out here.
You know, but speaking of Kyrie, right, point guard, obviously number 1 overall pick, but we're getting ready to talk about another number 1 overall pick in Ben Simmons and the Sixers. So we're getting ready to welcome our man Keith to No Pump Fakes.
It's your boy Ahmad K. Smith, also known as A-Kiss. Make sure you guys go follow No Pump Fakes wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, y'all. So we're here with Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. All right. And we already know, y'all going to have a lot of questions about Ben Simmons. Okay. We already know. But welcome to the show, Keith. Let's get right into it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Fresh off Vegas, right?
Yeah. I'm still tired, but it's all right.
Who since you're fresh off summer league, who surprised you the most watching the Philadelphia Sixers summer league team?
Surprised me the most. I would say Isaiah Joe, the shooting guard for the Sixers, and the reason being is, I always just thought that he was like a spot up shooter, and I knew he could defend a little bit, but he was taking dudes off the dribble. And he was also being a real good facilitator in a pick and roll. So I have to say that was like, okay, I didn't know you had an all-around game. I see you play it. So that was the surprise for me.
Can you talk about Springer in terms of what he kind of brings to the Sixers?
You know what? I like Springer. A lot of people in Philadelphia are getting a little impatient, like they want to see more, right? But when you look at the situation that he's in, he's 18. I mean, he doesn't turn 19 until September the 25th. And secondly, right, this summer league, if you're normally a first round pick, it's about you. But this one is about Tyrese Maxey, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed. So he's like the fourth option all the way over on the side, like, doing catch and shoot threes. But the thing that really impressed me about him is like he's not pouting. And he's also bringing it on the defensive end. And in limited opportunities, there has been times where he took a guy off the dribble, ran in, did a reverse layup, or he buried a 3. So those are the things when you see him, it impresses you because he's not being featured, but he's still able to do something. So that really impresses me.
Okay. I guess we should get into it, Theus.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Run.
What happened with the Philadelphia Sixers this past postseason? Philadelphia Sixers had the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. A lot of people were expecting, even myself, respecting the Philadelphia Sixers to go to the NBA Finals. And then the Atlanta Hawks happened. Trae Young happened, where Trae Young was looking like the best player on the court with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Well, he was the best player in my opinion. So can you just tell me about like what happened with that team in the playoffs?
It's kind of weird. Like it seems like it's the same thing that happens every time they go to the playoffs, or at least when they get the second round. It comes where teams start guarding Ben Simmons differently. They take him out of the game. And then like it just seems like that really impacted the Sixers because they really didn't have another ball handler per se that they can put in there. Now they did put Tyrese Maxey in Game 6 and in Game 7, but I thought that was a little too late in Game 7. The momentum wise. But I think what really impacted them is Joel was a little injured. B, Ben Simmons, B, Joel a little bit injured. But if you want to be honest, I think the 76ers were a little bit hyped up. I know they were the number 1 seed. And the reason why I'm saying that is we all know they were number 1 seed, but we can't say with a straight face that they were better than Brooklyn or Milwaukee. No one expected them to lose to the Hawks. But I don't think if I asked y'all, are they better than those two teams, you'll probably be like, come on, no. They have the easier record, but I don't know if they were the elite team that we all thought they were.
Brooklyn, no. I would say Brooklyn, no. But Milwaukee, I think Milwaukee took advantage of the situation with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie being hurt and James Harden being hurt. And that's why I thought the Philadelphia Sixers was going to take advantage of that as well. So it's just I can't necessarily say Milwaukee. Go ahead, Theus.
Yeah, I was going to say I would hear you on that if they lost to one of those two teams. Had they lost to Kevin Durant, I would say all right, cool. Had they lost to Giannis, I would say all right, cool. But I just can't accept them losing to Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is now, to me, definitely on the map. I think Atlanta definitely proved themselves, and I'm not going to take anything away from them. But that's not a series that they should have lost, and I can sit here and say, you know what, they lost to a better team or a team with a better player.
I agree. What I'm saying is I agree with that. When you look all right, I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a young reporter on the beat, and he was like, "Hey Keith, man, did you book your hotel room yet for Milwaukee?" I was like, "Slow down, man, slow down, just relax a little bit." You know what I mean? So then after the game, I said, "How did that booking go?" But see, for me, looking at it, I guess so close, I did not expect them to lose to Atlanta. Right? You don't expect that. I mean, it's one of those things. But when you look at the 76ers this year, there were certain times when they played, they go to Miami, they go to Indiana. Indiana doesn't have 6 players playing. Sixers lose, right? When I saw them go head to head with Milwaukee this season at all 3 games, they got swept. The first game, Milwaukee made a trade right before the game. These dudes were shook. They were like, oh my gosh. I mean, they was pulling them out of the layup line. And so Miami's like, what's going on? And then they came back and beat the Sixers in overtime. And then when they went to Milwaukee for that 2-game series, how they had it, Ben Simmons didn't play. But it was one of those things where they just beat them handily. So to me, watching the team, yes, I kind of was shocked the way they lost to Atlanta. But then it made me think back to I think maybe we hyped this team up a little bit too much, just a little bit too much, because in order for them to win, Joel Embiid has to play out of this world. He can't. To me, Joel can't just have 35 points for them to win. He got to get upper 40s, and he has to do this, and so. To me, I guess maybe I'm sometimes you're too close to a squad and you get a little more critical than other people. So to me, I just, again, not losing to Atlanta, but I didn't see them getting any further than the Eastern Conference Finals if they would have made it that far.
Go ahead, Ahmad.
Do you feel that the Ben Simmons disrespect is going too far?
There we go.
Summer?
Let's get into it.
I think you do.
I do.
I think you do. You know what, man? In a way, I kind of, in a way, I kind of do. I do. I feel it got okay. So in Philadelphia is where they call you got the Ben haters, and then they call them the Ben apologists, right? If you say, "Oh, Ben Simmons only had 3 points." But what did he do on defense? What did he do on defense? So they was arguing. But then after Ben Simmons struggled that last game, then some of the apologists turned to him, right?
Yeah.
Now, but then when you start you seeing people and they just start criticizing them and killing them. And the one thing I would say, we all knew who Ben was. Ben's a passer. He doesn't shoot the ball. For 3 years, people have been saying, shoot the three, shoot the three. He hasn't. But then all of a sudden, it becomes you're watching the ESPYs, and my man is clowning them with the bricks, right? And then you got people going on shows, and they just throwing them. It's kind of like, it's easy now. The dude's nowhere to be around, so everybody in their mind want to attack them. So when you say, has it going too far, I think it has, because let's be real. Ben never came out and said, I'm a shooter. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He always said, I'm a distributor. And everybody was saying that's what we want him to do. And then all of a sudden he doesn't do it in the biggest game. And then everybody's throwing him under the bus. So, yeah, I think it went a little bit too far right then and there.
Okay, so what would you say is next for the Sixers? Right, so when we talk about Ben as well as Embiid, what is next for that entire team? Because if obviously the goal for them now is to win the championship, right? We are long past the whole trust the process stuff. They need to be winning chips at some point. So what is the next step that the Sixers you feel should take?
Well, I think even with the disrespect thing has to go. I think that the next step is you got to get someone in for Ben Simmons, and you have to get him somewhere else. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, I feel like, here's a guy who's an all-star. They tried trading him once before and they weren't able to do it. Then they're going to do it. They did it. Now they're trying to do it again. He feels like people threw him under the bus, right? So I feel like right now the best thing to do is to get him to a place where he can thrive and get someone in here who you think can thrive as well. Because, next year you would hate for this guy to be here and his heart and his mind being somewhere else, because he's going to get booed, right? But also, whenever the trade deadline comes up, you're looking and thinking like, did I do enough for them to have faith in me to keep me? We're not talking about a role player. We're talking about a 3-time All-Star, So I think that for the Sixers, the best case for them and the best case for Ben is to get him out of there. Now, the question is, you say, well, who are the two guys they can get who can possibly make them better? One would be Dame Lillard, if that could happen.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
The other person I would say maybe a Bradley Beal, but you still need a point guard. But you're right, Dame is the guy. So to me, in order for them to get a championship right now, unless there's somebody who's just going to surprise me, I think you got to go hard after Dame. I do. I think you have to.
Me too. I said it right from the rip when I was like, Dame. Everybody was talking about CJ McCollum. It's like, no, it's Dame. It's Dame or it's nobody. It's Dame or nobody.
Does Ben and Tobias get it done?
I don't know if Tobias would get it done.
Tobias not going nowhere. You need a wing.
You need a wing.
I'm saying, though, you got to think of it from Portland's perspective. You're not just about to give up Dame for nothing.
But here's my thing. It's the crazy part about it is, Tobias is a good player, right? But then you have some executives may be a little scared of that contract, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
scared of it.
If it's me looking at Tyrese Maxey and how he's an attack guy, I think that because the contracts are kind of comparable with Ben and Dame. I would try to say if I'm Portland, I'm saying I probably want Maxey over Tobias. You know what I mean? Because Max he's still on his rookie deal. I think he's going to be a beast in this league, and he could go in and just give you buckets. So to me, that's the guy that I think that if I'm Portland, I would want.
It's not hard. You go to Portland, you say, how many first-round picks do you want? You say we give you our young players, Tyrese, Thibault as well, and you keep it moving. That's it. That's the trade package right there. And that's the only – and I feel that Joel Embiid deserves somebody like a Damian Lillard, a guy that can play that inside-outside combination, similar to Kobe Bryant and Shaq. That's the only type of duo or type of situation that Joel Embiid is going to actually have a legit chance of winning an NBA championship. If you look at the history of the pairing of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, yeah, they can work together, but it's still an awkward fit. And if you're looking at Ben Simmons, as great as Ben Simmons I think he is, I think Ben Simmons in his playoff struggles this year took the pressure off of Doc Rivers, who once was up and losing series, even though he had the advantage. His team had an advantage in the series, and also you look at Joel Embiid as well. I know Joel Embiid was hurt, but it's a lot of fourth quarters. You go look at them fourth quarter statistics and stats. Joel Embiid ain't show up, and then Ben Simmons kind of getting all the blame. But it's just like, if you really like yourself, Keith, watching these games and know what's going on, you like, yo, it ain't just Ben Simmons. And then if you're Ben Simmons, you looking at a situation where, you know what, I don't even know what I can be in the NBA because I've always been paired with a guy where you're building around him. So it would be nice for Ben Simmons to get a new situation as well, and kind of like the Philadelphia Sixers to pair somebody like a Damian Lillard with Joel Embiid going forward in the future.
Yeah, you raise a great point because no one is talking about. Remember, Tobias struggled the last 2 games of that series. He was missing bunnies left and right in Game 7, and you're right. The Ben Simmons thing took it away from all of them. No one was saying, "Doc, you still can't get out of the second round." Joel, what's up, man? You out of shape again. Tobias, what happened? This was a big game. That one layup that pass he had on the dunk, it kind of was like, if the rest of them was like, thank you, brother.
But why do you think that is, though?
Why do you think it took it off, or why do you think
why is there so much pressure towards Ben Simmons as opposed to the entire team?
You know what? I think when you look at Ben Simmons, a lot of people look at what they project him to be as opposed to who he is, right? Now, let's keep it real. Like I said, Ben tells us all the time who he is. So it's up to, we're the ones who gets fooled by saying he's going to do this and he's going to do that when he comes back and says, nah, this is how I play. But when you look at him, you start thinking about LeBron, you start thinking about Magic, all these other guys. And I think people get a little frustrated because they feel like he's a little bit too passive. It's kind of like, you know what it is? It's kind of like y'all been on the court, right? And y'all when you were little, it was this one dude who was real tall. He might have been 6'8" in the 9th grade. And you're like, man, if I had your height, I would do this. I would do that. And you know what I'm saying? So I think people look at Ben Simmons, they look at the athleticism, they look at the height, they look at everything. And the compounded is, it happened again this summer. There's always videos of him out in the gym shooting threes, right? And it gets to, so everybody, so then it's like, okay.
It's a mental. It could be a mental though.
It's definitely a mental, man. I mean, there's been so many times where before the game, we're on the road and I'll get out there early and I'll see my man going all around the world just hitting threes. And it's like, wow, you can do it. You know what I mean? But then once the game comes, it's kind of like he passes it. He passes out. So you're right. It's 100% mental. I think it's a fear of failure. But to go with that, I think we all look at him and we all say, man, if he would just do a little bit more, which he should do. I think that's why people get frustrated with him, because he doesn't get out of the comfort zone.
A little pushback. I feel that. Do you feel that it's because that some guys are just not meant to be the second option? Maybe Ben Simmons is meant to have a team built around him, similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like Giannis, look at Giannis. Ben Simmons has never had that. So it's just kind of like we can't sit up and say what Ben Simmons can't do or really can't become, because it's like he's always been in a situation where the Philadelphia Sixers have built around Joel Embiid, and it's failed. And that's just the truth, Theus. You always got something to say. That's about Giannis. That's the truth.
Yeah, okay.
That's just also a mentality too, though.
That is true.
Go ahead, Theus. You can say it.
Go ahead, Theus.
It's a mentality, but it's also like those other guys have given teams reason to be the number one option, right? It ain't like the Sixers just picking and choosing who they want. Giannis is the number one option for a reason, and Embiid is the number one option for a reason. Build around whatever. They have given you a reason as to why teams have chosen them as the number one option. If Ben was putting up Giannis numbers, I guarantee you. Guarantee you.
He can't even. We've seen Ben Simmons without Joel Embiid at times. He's been a monster at times. So it's like we've seen glimpses of it. But you can't sit up and say if he puts up Giannis numbers, how the hell are you gonna put up Giannis numbers when you got Joel Embiid clogging the paint? You got Tobias Harris on the low block. So that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have a team. He's never had a team built around his strengths. If he's a passer, like Keith is saying, a facilitator who likes to run from point A to point B, similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo, he probably needs a team that he can utilize his strengths to the maximum ability. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if he can be a Giannis, but I'm just saying, I don't know if it's like people just act like it's impossible that we haven't seen the best version of it. I'm just saying maybe he needs a new team situation that's going to build around him. Because even look at the Golden State Warriors that they're talking about. Like the trade for, everybody's talking about the Ben Simmons and Golden State Warriors. That would be better than the Philadelphia Sixers because at least he got shooters around him. It's like who's shooting in Philly except for baby Steph Curry, baby little brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference.
Now, this is one thing I will say about Ben. The difference between him and Giannis, I don't think is more or less the teammates around him. Now, again, if you want Ben Simmons to be successful, you do need you need shooters, but you also need an additional ball handler on the floor.
True.
Right? But the thing is, I think the biggest difference between Ben and Giannis is a mentality. I think that you got Ben Simmons who has a fear of failure. He doesn't like looking bad. Where you have Giannis like, look, y'all going to make fun of me. Y'all going to do whatever. He's in this stage of his career that he's just going to attack. Because, see, the thing about Ben is, like I said, you could before the game. Now, again, I know you nobody's going to block your shot. Nobody's going to do anything. But when you see a guy go around the world burying threes before the game, and then when the game comes, he shies away, to me, he just doesn't want to look bad. And to me, I think what Ben needs to do is, and it might sound arrogant and stuff like that, but I think if somebody starts booing him, he needs to start saying, yo, man, go online and see how much money I made today or something like that, right? Yeah. Because like kick the life is good type of thing. Because, my thing is they're going to be haters. They're going to people who make fun of you. But to me, it's one of those things where I just feel like he has it, but he just doesn't use it. Now, one thing I will say, one time I asked him, I said, how come you don't shoot threes, man? He said, Keith, I never had to. He says, like growing up in Australia, even when he was at Mount Verde, that was a loaded team, right? But he was able to get, they just rolling them out now, right? He said, all I did was went up and down and dribbled and got to the cup. I never had to work on those things. So, you know what I mean? So those are two things. Like he didn't work on his game because he didn't have to. And now he doesn't really do it because he doesn't want to look bad. Like he doesn't do it in the game, So, but again, yes, a different team. But at that, I think Golden State would be the best thing for him because he would be, no one would ask him to shoot the ball. He would be like a point forward, where he just dishing it out. He'll be a triple double machine if he went somewhere like that. But on this Sixers squad, they need him to score, and he just doesn't always do it.
Personnel matters. Team situations matters. Theus.
All right, I hear y'all on the fit stuff, and I definitely agree. I know obviously you can't just throw talent on the same team and just it'll randomly work out. Hell, look at Team USA for crying out loud. But at the same time too, talent does play a huge factor. If you're talented, you should be succeeding, even though you're playing with a top guy like Embiid. At the end of the day, you still got to produce. So. The last question that I think we have for you, Keith, is do you feel that Ben Simmons will be a Philadelphia 76er by the first day of this upcoming regular season?
Wow. I don't. I mean, if he is, I think he'll be going shortly thereafterwards. I just think that if Ben Simmons comes, it's going to get messy. I think it's going to be messy, man. Like, you're already hearing the stories about contemplating not showing up for training camp, and if he is there, you know how those press conferences go. Like sometimes they tell you say something to get out of here, and I think that the Sixers don't really want that smoke, so to speak, and they don't want like to lower the trade value. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as if that if they find out like Dame Lillard's not leaving, then they'll go in a different direction. If he does leave, then all of a sudden I think if he wants to leave, then they'll go that direction. But I don't see Ben Simmons being there in the beginning of the season. I don't.
I know that was your last question, Theus, but
no, go ahead.
It's fine.
if the Sixers can't get Dame, who can they get? Because you were a championship caliber team this year. Don't you just run it back and just try to hope that you can mend the situation? Because like if you can't get Dame, it's just like who are you pairing Joel Embiid that's gonna really Bradley Beal maybe, but it's just like Bradley's probably not going anywhere. It's just kind of like who are you gonna pair Joel Embiid with? Because it's not going. CJ McCollum's not gonna get it done. Buddy Hield for the Sacramento Kings, and you getting rid of Ben Simmons, he's not gonna get it done. So it's just like, what do you do if you're the Philadelphia Sixers?
You know, and that's a great question. I mean, both of them are. See, my problem is like, ideally, you say bring it back, right?
Yeah.
But this thing turned into a mess, man. It really has. Like, it's like a quiet as kept mess. Like neither side is coming out saying anything. But I think what really messed up was with the Sixers that kind of destroyed it, where I think he has to go, is like all year Doc Rivers was like praising him, saying y'all don't know what y'all talking about. And then when they asked him, was he an all NBA caliber point guard, he said he didn't know. That was like a shot in the heart to Ben. And then when they asked Joel, when did the game turn? And he's like, oh, we had a dunk. And it turned into 2 foul shots, right? Yes. So, like, I think both of his teammates threw him under the bus. I think that, you know, the word that he's on the trading block, all that other stuff, I just think that, you know, the guy feels disrespected. And if you bring him back, you know, we all know what people say. Oh, we didn't mean that. Oh, we love you. This and that. And he's looking at it. This is the second time y'all tried to trade me. So with all that being said, I think he has to go. You know, and I get your question. But I don't know, like, because let's keep it real. The locker room always had chemistry issues before. Always. It was a bad culture. Doc Rivers came in, he cleaned it up a little bit, but I don't think you can bring Ben Simmons back into that locker room after everything that happened. I could be wrong, but I think that it's going to be a bad locker room if he returns, because believe me, man, he knows that they're trying to get rid of him. You know, he knows that. So, yeah, I can't see it. But you're right. He might be their best option, but I just don't see it working. You know, I just don't see it.
I mean, worst case scenario, he stays. I mean, they're still a good basketball team, right? I mean, I think people are just, you know, obviously seeing the last game he had and think, oh, the Sixers are in trouble. They were still a number 1 seed in the East, right? So I think anytime you're a number 1 seed in a conference, you have the ability to win a championship. Now, obviously, right, Philly fans might be tired of it, but trust me, if there's anyone that knows it could always be worse, it's Philly fans. So just, you know, understand that, like, dog, it ain't like, you know what I'm saying, y'all 10-72. Okay, understand now. You still got 2 young, talented players. Take a deep breath. I understand the frustration, but, you know, y'all still had a good record. Y'all still could win a chip. It's all right.
I will say this, and I'll let Keith go. There was another player that was disgruntled that wanted out and wanted a trade, and then came back and had his greatest, probably to me, one of the greatest NBA seasons in the history of the NBA, and Allen Iverson. So you never know what could happen. Sometimes it takes this, like, you know, cracks in a relationship to build something beautiful. So you never know what could happen. Could be a motivation thing for Ben. Could be like a wake-up call. Especially if he can't get traded and he looking around the league like, damn, nobody want me. So you never know.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny, though. Both of it. Yeah, you're right about the AI thing. Yeah. And it's funny, though, because I did cover that 10-72 team. And now we're like, now they're complaining over something else. Yo, I remember that. That was yeah.
Like, come on. Yeah. It's like, be thankful for what you have. Yeah. Like, you know, fans just get spoiled so quickly. How soon we forget the tough times.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
I know. I know.
I had an intern. That's how I got into the sports industry. When that was my first internship, was with the Philadelphia Sixers. And man, the atmosphere around there was just crazy. That was when they were losing. That was in 2015. They were just losers, bro.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago. That's another thing too.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yo, I'm gonna make y'all laugh at this one. So in the background it says 26. I don't know if you can see it, but that's like they lost 26 games in a row, right? So after they lost, I mean, this was the first year. Like, this wasn't even the 10 and 72. So they were so programmed to say, we just working. Like, we don't care about wins and losses. We just working. So when they finally won a game where everybody goes in the locker room, we're like, yo, what's going through your mind? We're just working, man. We don't care. We don't care about wins and losses. So then, like, the next day, they're like, hey, can y'all interview us again? He's like, nah, dude, y'all missed it. Like, they were so programmed, they didn't even know how to celebrate. Like, it was crazy, man.
My goodness.
It was crazy. It was bad. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it was that was some time.
I mean, yeah. You lose that many games in a row, that's like, all right, hey guys, what do you want to know? Like,
I know, right? It was bad, dude. It's like people were showing up to games with bags on their faces.
Yeah.
But they were still going. They were still going.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Dark times.
Yeah, and now to see that they're the number 1 seed in the East and still complaining. What a world we live in.
That's Philly for you.
That's Philly. That's Philly. But yeah, man, Keith, thank you again, man, for being on the show. No pump fakes, man. Definitely appreciate it, man. Good talk and everything like that. We're gonna see what happens to the Sixers this upcoming season, man. I'm already looking forward to that team as a whole. So again, man, appreciate you for being on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all for having me on the show. I really do. Thanks.
Absolutely. Cap or no cap? Damian Lillard will lead the league in scoring in the 2022 NBA regular season.
He may have to if he's on that Portland Trailblazers team.
That's so heavy. That's how you start. Oh my God.
He may have to if he's on that Portland Trailblazers team.
Goodness, is Dame going to lead the league in scoring?
No, I'm not gonna say no cap. He may have to if he on. Have you seen?
Oh, don't do that. Don't act like Portland
seen,
is out there rolling with scrubs, bro. Don't do that. I mean, I still think he's gonna be like a top 5 scoring candidate, of course, but it ain't like.
Don't you talk about team? Portland, bro.
Oh, God.
Everybody got better except for them. And the Nuggets. And the Nuggets beat them. The Nuggets beat them without starters in the playoffs, and they still better than them right now.
This man is entertained by this. Man is amused by the fact that by Portland is struggling. That's so tough, bro. That's so tough, bro.
Yo, so yeah,
stick to the question. Yeah, stick to the question. Is Damian? This is about Dame, not Portland, not their playoff struggles. This is about Damian Lillard.
I said no cap. I actually say I'm gonna say cap because Dame's body is not gonna hold up doing that. It's just like that's a problem. Like Dame, even get to the playoffs, he's doing so much in the regular season just for them to get to the playoffs. Then he gets to the playoffs, his body starts wearing down because he's like he has so much responsibility, and it's just kind of like I don't even know. I hope he doesn't have to be in Portland this season, and I just really hope he doesn't have to be, trying to go for a scoring title because I guess that could be his goal because it sure ain't winning the playoffs.
But that's exactly why
it's a problem, bro.
That's exactly why I asked. There's obviously was a Sixers episode, but the possibility, the talks, and all the rumors, all that bullshit. That's why I just asked if he's gonna lead the league in scoring. I didn't say where. I didn't say where. Wait, I don't know. Why would you hope not? Are you saying that's because of that would ultimately mean like?
Let me tell you something. A lot of time, it's rare that you see Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Allen Iverson, guys lead the league in scoring, and they have successful teams and going deep in the playoffs. A lot of times, Theus, when you lead your team, the NBA in scoring, a lot of times your team sucks. A lot of times your team is trash. A lot of times your team is fighting for a playoff spot. So I really hope he's not trying to go. Look at Bradley Beal for years.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Steph just had a.
Look at Steph.
Yeah. Okay.
Like if you're doing all that, got to lead your team and lead the NBA in scoring, not your team, the NBA in scoring. If you come into the end of the season, it's around the corner, and they talking about the leading scorer of the NBA race, it's not really a race you want to be in.
Hey, I'm just saying, maybe, but who knows? Maybe Dame pulls off the impossible. He averages like 32 and gets a 3 seed, right? He averages 32 and I don't know.
Let's switch it because this was a conversation that's been going around. It's been going around for years, and we had a conversation earlier today. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna throw a cap or no cap. Cap or no cap. When it's all said and done, Damian Lillard's career will be better than Russell Westbrook's.
Cap.
Okay, smart man.
Russ has an MVP as well as an NBA Finals appearance, and he'll probably get another NBA Finals appearance this year. So, and at least if it's not an NBA Finals appearance, it'll probably be some sort of playoff success. So when you combine both of those two things, I mean, you got better playoff success, an MVP. You've reached the finals, and again, this isn't taking anything away from Dame, but I just think Russ has one of those careers that unfortunately gets overlooked. You talk about the whole media darling thing. Whatever the opposite of that is, that's what Russ is. And so because of that, I think people will look at his career and just think, oh, stat patter, whatever, all that other garbage. But like, dog, what he's doing, again, is not normal. What he's doing is historical. What he's doing doesn't come around every day.
Do you think,
and
not to cut you off, do you think that the past 3 years, let's say 3 years, do you think that Damian Lillard has really been better than Russell Westbrook the past 3 years?
Damian Lillard has been going off, and I'm not going to evade the question here. So I would say yes, just because of, what Russ had to deal with this, this Wizards team. Obviously, he had a great teammate in Bradley Beal, but you take those two guys off that roster, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But I mean, Dame was wilding in the bubble. Dame was wilding in that bubble. And Dame has had some crazy playoff moments. Obviously, we know the buzzer beater over Paul George, the buzzer beater he had years ago against the Rockets. He comes up big and in big time moments in terms of individual games. But I mean, just career wise, especially starting from day one. I'm gonna go with Russ.
For day one, definitely go with Russ. I'm gonna take Russ. Okay, definitely go with Russ. The problem I have is because people talk about guys who aren't winners in the NBA, and they always kind of talk about what Russell Westbrook isn't. But it's a guy that they say that's better than him, and that's been better than him. Is he's a better player. He's if you put him on this team, he's going to win a championship more. So he'd be better suited than Russell Westbrook. They talk about Dame, and I have if Russell Westbrook is a loser, what the hell is Dame?
That's so tough, bro. You know what though? I thought you were about to spit. No. But I thought you was about to spit something crazy. Like if you were about to say like they always talk about what Russell Westbrook isn't. But they never talk about what he is. That would have been crazy. But I mean, Russ definitely,
It's the same. It kind of flows though, right? Because it's just like you see Dame, and then it's just people look at Dame. Well, he's the first option on his team. Okay, you're the first option. You're going to the playoffs. You're making it to the first round. Russell Westbrook was the first option when Kevin Durant left and went to the first round of playoffs. So it's like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like people would love to say that Russell Westbrook is a loser. And this guy we saw him as the second option, go to multiple Western Conference Finals, also to the NBA Finals with Kevin Durant. We've seen him as the first option, lead his team to the playoffs, go on one of the top 10 greatest MVP seasons in the history of the game. And it's just like, people call him a loser because they don't like him as a person. But it's just like, I look on the other side and people love to talk about Dame is so much better than Russell Westbrook, and Dame is this and Dame is that. He's been better than Russell Westbrook for the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. And I'm kind of like, one, I don't know if that's true. And number two, it's just kind of like, if Russell Westbrook is a loser, what the hell is Dame? And I always say that because it's just like, that's what I talk about when you brought it up. I didn't bring it up this episode. Media darlings. It's just like people love to say one player is this, but then I can bring up, well, what the hell has Dame done? And it's just like, Dame is this. He's on this thing to Portland. Nobody can come to Portland. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody does that. He doesn't have a real legit number two. It's so many excuses, but it's just kind of like, that's why I always point to those two players, because I always hear the conversations of like, who's better, who's this, and you have analysts that comes out and say like, if Dame was on this team, they're winning a championship over Russell Westbrook because he shoots the ball better. But the game is not always about shooting the ball, because it's just like, yeah, Dame may shoot the ball better, but Russell Westbrook can still put up the same amount of points and do this, and that. So it's just kind of like, let's talk about it. But a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But like sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. So
No, that's real, man. I mean, it's and
I love Dame.
Right. I mean, we both do.
And I don't fault Dame. I look at the organization. I'm always looking at the organization or whatever. But it's just kind of like I just hate how they do that when it comes to Russell Westbrook and Dame. Sometimes it really doesn't make any sense.
No, I 100% hear you, and I would hope everybody, all of our followers and subscribers know by now that whenever we say this shit, it's just acknowledging reality, right? I don't think any of us like hate a certain player or got beef with anybody. It's just more like, yo, you call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it ain't no ass kissing. It's just like, yo, numbers don't lie. Like if wins haven't been accumulated, you gotta start asking questions, And I mean, even too with the whole, and I was a victim. The whole Luka versus Trey thing. Now, I have publicly acknowledged that. But now, Trey's won. Donovan has won. Tatum has won.
Yeah.
Book has gone to the NBA Finals. That's why that 5. Yeah. And again, it's funny because, like I said, I was one of the, and I'm still but again, like I said, I acknowledge it though. I don't run from, what I'm saying, if shit go the other way, hey, whatever. But those 5, a dialogue gonna happen.
And people are gonna say, well, he played the Clippers. Well, he was up against the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
And again, those are, and I meant to have and we could say it's for another episode, but like favorite young duos, not necessarily just twin 5 and under, but just the idea of like what's your favorite pairing in the league. But either way, you look at the other 4 of those 5, they got some. They got some playoff success. And Luka, I know he done dominated overseas. I know he done dominated during the regular season. I know he's still young. I know he just got that contract. I know Dallas love him, but hey, if we're going to put you in that category, if we're going to say you him, I'm going to need you to get a little playoff success. That age, you know what I'm saying, that's only going to be an excuse, but for so much longer. And if we're going to compare you to James Harden, we're going to need you to come on now.
If you're going to pair you to 22-year-olds like LeBron and Kobe, people saying you the best 20, we're going to hold you to some expectations. Come on now. So that's not just saying I'm comparing, but those are the people that's like, that's so like, oh, this and that, he's doing this and that. It's like, you have to really break. That's what I'm saying. Like you said, like it's about just like, it's just reality. It's just not like we love, this is just talking about real basketball stuff. It's not, we're not sugarcoating. We're not talking about like favorites. We're not doing the whole media dark. Like if I like a player, this and that. No, if it's LeBron James, we're going to talk about it. Like if this Kevin Durant, we're going to talk about it. So it's just kind of like, it's the same thing that goes for everybody. It's about being consistent. Exactly. I just feel like a lot of people in the media, when they don't even talk about real hoop like we do, but like in the media, they don't be consistent. Like you have to have a consistency on everything. You can't just have, oh, this player, I'll make excuses for, and this player, like, no, he's not doing this. No, be consistent on all levels.
Exactly. That's all I ever ask. Like, if you're right or wrong on the take, all right, whatever, life goes on. But don't flip flop. Don't change your take just because it's one player, and then the next time, like, no. Like, if you feel a certain way about value and championships, value the hell out them championships, especially when we talk about rankings and who's better. But don't flip flop just because if it's a certain player you like or don't like. That shit is garbage. But yeah, that's this episode, y'all. We got Ben Simmons finally. We got our man Keith, Sixers beat writer, who obviously gave y'all all the info y'all needed with all this Ben Simmons talk. Cause man, the mailbags was getting flooded with Ben Simmons questions. Nobody else.
Dame to the Sixers. I hope it happens.
Damn, we might have to get another Trailblazers episode in here.
Yeah,
we might have to. It's been a while. But all right, y'all. We out. We're going to see you on next episode. Peace. What's up, y'all? It's Theus McBee. Make sure you go follow No Pump Fakes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.